How you doing, everybody? It's Wardy here, and we're back at it with our latest Big Mets update segment this evening because Anthony Santander, a big bat in the free agent market who we've highlighted on the platform plenty over the past week, well, recent reporting has indicated that given his contract demands, the Mets are in a greater position to land him than ever before this offseason. Is it a slam dunk? No, of course not, but we'll get into what exactly is favoring the Mets versus maybe what wasn't the case just a couple weeks ago. From there, we'll get into Brooks Raley, most recently of the New York Mets. Will he return to Queens this offseason? Let's get into him and his market as it is currently heating up big time, and everything else in Mets land is what we're going to touch on, folks. So thank you so much for smashing that like and subscribe button as your first chime in. It's greatly appreciated. I'm really looking forward to talking more on the Venezuelan switch-hitting slugger and Anthony Santander. And as always, everybody, thank you so much for hearing from our amazing sponsor at BetUS that has you covered with all your sports betting needs. If you guys haven't already, make sure you head over to betus.com.pa for whatever you want to bet on. To all my respective sports bettors out there, bet responsibly. I hammered my Steelers tonight biasly, even though I'm cautiously optimistic as a Steelers fan as they're going toe-to-toe against the Ravens in the playoff matchup right now in the NFL. Good luck to anyone that plays their respective NFL picks this weekend. I wish you all the absolute best as playoffs are officially upon us now, everybody. But as always, make sure you use our promo code at YouTube150 that has you covered for a 150% bonus on your first deposit, 125 on your second and your third for whatever you want to bet on, up to $2,000 at betus.com.pa today. Now, folks, let's get back in this one. Let's talk about the latest here, which is beside me here. We see from Ken Rosenthal and also Wolf Salmon. Will did a fantastic job at this breakdown specifically that we see here. And Salmon, who we just had on the platform just a couple days ago in our last live stream, as he touched a little bit on Anthony Santander, the Mets' interest in Tanner Scott for the bullpen front, among many other things. And given this recent reporting from The Athletic, as we deep dive it here right now, it does state in said article that after finding out that Pete Alonso has approached the Mets on a short-term high AV deal potentially there with opt-outs on, say, a presumed 3-year deal or so, now we have heard that the markets have changed in favor of the Mets, not only for a pitcher to a lesser degree, because I don't see the Mets landing himself, that being in Jack Flaherty, who is more willing to sign a short-term high AV deal. Now it's the case with Anthony Santander as well, and that is what makes this all so exciting. That is exactly why the Mets are now more favored than ever to potentially land him versus where they were, say, a couple weeks ago. Because what has been the common belief, the reported belief that we have seen over the past couple weeks? Well, it's not only that the Mets fully intend and hope to bring back their polar bear slugger and Pete Alonso, but it's also that they can pair Alonso with potentially another bat in the free agent market, especially as we look in the outfield DH fits. Not that Alex Bregman wouldn't be great for the hot corner, but that feels like a far greater reality right now, barring changes should it happen on the shorter term, higher AV end with opt-outs similarly to Pete Alonso, and just like what we saw in previous Scott Boras clients over the past couple of years of Matt Chapman, Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, etc., signing those short-term deals to then opt for something bigger, or in the case of Monty, because he had such a bad year, to opt back in for another deal, even though the D-backs want nothing to do with him now. But I digress. To talk further on Anthony Santander, everybody, what makes him fascinating, what makes him such a prime fit for the Mets should they go down this route, is simply because they can never have enough offense, right? And when you look at adding Juan Soto, when you look at hopefully bringing back Pete Alonso, which I feel very confident, I'm right around 90+% in Alonso returning, if not higher right now, barring changes, knocking on wood, folks, don't want to jinx it. But Anthony Santander has hit 28 or more home runs in the past 3 seasons consecutively, 44 over this past season, over 100 RBIs. The only switch hitter in Major League Baseball that's hitting for power consistently like this. And then we look at another dominant switch hitter in our lineup in Francisco Lindor. The thought of pairing those along with Soto, along with Alonso, along with Vientos, and everyone else in company just has me salivating at the mouth as a Mets fan. And the reason why I'm cautiously optimistic about this happening has everything to do with the Mets player pursuits that they have done so far this offseason. They are to blame here, everybody. There's no one else but them. And the reason for this is simply put, the Mets were willing to go 2 years on a deal for Jock Pearson this offseason, but they were not willing to reach the ultimate deal at $37+ million. They felt that was too steep for Jock. And truthfully, I know that we're going to have some fans saying, why does the money matter? It always matters, even when you're as rich as Steve Cohen. But in the case of the Mets and Peterson, that pursuit had a lot to do with his limited ability as pretty much a standalone DH. That's a guy that you want a platoon option DH. He's like an upgraded version power-wise over Jesse Winker. Even though I'm all for bringing Jesse Winker back, the reason why the Mets haven't chomped at the bit to go all the way to do that yet is because of the other better bat fits out there. Not only in them swinging and missing on Jock Pearson before he signed with the Texas Rangers, but also Teoscar Hernandez. The Mets offered a 2-year deal to around the same average average annual value before he ultimately returned to the Dodgers on a 3-year deal, including deferred money, handling a quarter of that contract. The reason why I emphasize this is because Teoscar Hernandez did have the qualifying offer attached to him, just like it's the case of Santander, if I'm not mistaken, which means the Mets would have to give up their 3rd and 6th round picks in this upcoming year's draft just to sign these guys. And for the Mets to be that willing to do it for a short-term bad option, Teoscar Hernandez, tells me they're probably more than likely willing to do the exact same for Anthony Santander, short-term high AAV with potential opt-outs, and Santander to enter this Mets lineup with Alonso, with Soto, with Lindor. You could argue that this could easily make the Mets have one of the deepest lineups, easily, not only in the National League, but across Major League Baseball as a whole. That is how much they juice here. And yes, it would limit your opportunities to have Starling Marte bat out of the DH position, but that makes him all the more expendable. Who cares if Anthony Santander is going to be your next man up in the outfield outside of McNeil, outside the Siri Tyrone platoon? And when you look at the corners, as long as Santander plays predominantly DH, good things will happen there. He is one of the better bats in Major League Baseball right now. The Venezuelan star, who I saw hit absolute bombs for Team Venezuela in the WBC when I attended a game there in Miami against Francisco Lindor's led Team Puerto Rico. Venezuela won, but it was an electric atmosphere, an electric game, and Santander had the offense early and often with his home run heroics. He's been able to step up in big stages that we've seen in the global sphere. Is now a big question as to how he can step up now in a big market, potentially like Queens, should the Mets land him. I know you might be saying, Wardy, what makes you feel optimistic that the Mets could get this deal done over the Toronto Blue Jays, or some teams have shown a further desperation? And it's a great question, and I can't sit here confidently and comfortably and tell you that, oh, he isn't going to land in Toronto, but what I can tell you is if he is willing to go this short-term high AV with opt-outs, the Blue Jays, who have been heavily involved in his market, things have been still there for a reason. The Mets, as long as they have a thorough interest in Santander, it's hard to envision them not being not only a heavy player here, but potentially landing him. I think they have a lot of upside here, not only on their chances to reel in Santander, on how appealing they are, should you bring back Alonso especially, but for Anthony Santander, again, for him as well, it just makes a lot of sense if he may potentially go back out there in the free agent market a year from now, or if he just wants to sign with a team on, say, a 3-year deal. I'd be hard-pressed to see the Mets go 3 years, but he's only 30 years of age. It's not impossible to happen, but I really do feel more confident in the Mets out of all big market teams really being able to pounce here given this opportunity now, short-term high AV with opt-outs, similar to Alonso. The Mets have an appetite for that. It's led to believe that they will do the same here, as they've been in the market for a bigger bat, a higher quality bat that gives them more substance, that gives them more gap-to-gap ability, and that gives them more home run and overall production, i.e. would be the case in Jock Pearson, Teoscar Hernandez, likely over Jesse Winker. What have we been leading to, everybody? The Mets would like more than just Alonso, whether that is a Jesse Winker, or whether that is a higher degree to Anthony Santander. We will soon find out, but I'm feeling good about the Mets' chances right now, barring changes, as we inch oh so close to that January 15th international free agent signing period officially beginning, as we'll talk plenty on hopefully finding out more on Roki Sasaki, Elian Pena, that we're going to highlight plenty that the Mets are inevitably signing, barring changes, among others there. But guys, Anthony Santander, let me know in the comments down below, how do you feel about the Mets potentially signing him to be your everyday DH there in that position for at least the 2025 season? The Mets will not only have stability in the DH, it would make Starling Marte more expendable to potentially trade for a solid reliever, like what Pat Ragazzo on the beat for the Mets over this past month stated that they were willing and shopping to do. That has been reaffirmed since then. So this opens the door for more moves that the Mets can make. It also gives them a greater ability to add to the bullpen as well. Again, this feels like a slam dunk fit for the Mets, should they be able to do it short-term high AV with opt-outs. If it goes 4 years for Anthony Santander, though, not a chance in heck I see him landing in Queens. That feels inevitable to land in Toronto, with the Angels in Anaheim, or somewhere else that we're not talking about at this point in time. Now, to go from Anthony Santander, let's now transition and talking about one of my favorite relievers in Major League Baseball, because the guy's been nails, and that is Mr. Brooks Raley. And Brooks Raley, up until he sadly went down with basically Tommy John surgery, that reconstructive surgery that ended his 2024 premature. Apologies for that, everybody. But we see here, he was dominant up until his injury, right? Didn't even post a earned run yet at that point in the regular season across 8 games. And because of Brooks Raley's injury, we saw right away the negative impact it had on that Mets bullpen all year long. They were never able to find a prominent southpaw in that bullpen to be consistent for them. They had success at times with Danny Young, Alex Young, very small slivers of success, including like striking out Aaron Judge, Mr. Jake Diekman. Outside of that, there really was few and far in between as to what the Mets were getting as quality lefty options out of their pen in 2024. And Brooks Raley, who's not projected to return any sooner than probably around July, coming back from TJ, is now in active negotiation with multiple teams on a multi-year deal so they can sign in to have him sign up for the rest of 2025 and then hopefully have team control for 2026, which can make him expendable if he has a strong second half in 2025 come next offseason, or you can at least have him for 2026. And for the Mets, when you look at their lefty options right now, well, Genesis Cabrera kind of leading the way as a guy that has a spring training invite to try to compete. There isn't a whole lot else there. And when I look at that, I come to the conclusion that Brooks Raley needs to return to this Mets team. And if he does not return because the Mets find a more viable option in Tanner Scott, okay, I'm not going to complain then. That is the best exception possible. But with teams rumored right now, like the New York Yankees and the Chicago Cubs reportedly among teams actively pursuing Brooks Raley, and after we have seen some teams make more splashes on the reliever front in recent days, it is clear that Brooks Raley's market is not only heating up, but he may reach a decision fairly soon. Where did the Mets find themselves in this discussion is a great question as a guy who did so well for them over a year plus in 2023 when everything went wrong that year. The one thing that didn't go wrong was Brooks Raley in 2023. Then in 2024 up until his injury, Raley was a nails. I love his fit in this bullpen, again, as a lefty option. If you're not going to sign him on a multi-year deal, make sure that Tanner Scott is the reason why, please, and thank you, David Stearns, and please not let Jalen Beeks be the guy that we expect to be the most dominant southpaw option in the bullpen for 2025 that they have not signed yet, but he feels like a guy that I could definitely see them going out and trying to land in the free agent market to a lesser degree. But guys, let me know in the comments down below, how do you feel? Are you optimistic or pessimistic about the Mets bringing Raley back potentially on a 2-year deal, which is likely what's going to be the case to get it done for him given what his market currently stands at? Everybody, let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you found yourself enjoying this Mets content, make sure to smash that like and subscribe button on your way out. Share this with your friends, hit that notification bell, and make sure that if that subscribe button is red, hit it. That means you aren't subbed yet. Join the largest community here on YouTube covering the Mets, not named the Mets themselves here over the past 4+ years, and that isn't stopping anytime soon. We're going to have a massive 2024, and I hope to see you guys, 2025 rather, still trying to remember that we're in a new year. I'm very excited to see how you guys are going to be part of it all with me every single year like we have done since the start of really the 2021 season. Thank you guys again, and as always, no matter what, let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.